Mr. Stewart Shelby, thank you for coming on today. And this is a podcast I've been trying to get put together for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have been trying to get all your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
So today we're here to talk about the proposed Neville charter, taking Neville from I guess the best way to say a standard public school and converting it to a charter school. Is that a good way of explaining it?
Kind of, because charter. Sometimes people confuse charters as being a private school. Okay, it is not. It's a public school. It is a public charter school. So what we're trying to do is convert Neville from a kind of school board run school into a site-based run school.
So before we started recording, you had mentioned that this process had been previously tried and it just did not, for whatever reason, work out. Tell us a little bit about that, what happened then and what's different now.
Well, back in 2012, we actually had an approved Type 3 charter from the Monroe City School Board. And then the school board decided, kind of said, hey, wait a second. They didn't want to negotiate with the group that was trying to do it. It was basically run by a group full of Neville High School alumni and friends, as the NAFA Association, which is a great organization that supports a lot of scholarships that go through Neville High School. And they just weren't prepared to maybe take on some of the things that they would have to take on if they couldn't get a shared services contract. And when I say shared services with regards to the Monroe City school system or in any deal, there's a lot of charter schools around here, kind of like Downsville is part of the Union Parish. That's a Downsville Community School is a Type 3 charter. Okay, so get buses. Sometimes if people say food service, IT services, things of that nature, that you can contract and build the school from. Because actually, what you do with the charter is you direct funding. The funding actually goes straight to where it's intended, which is the place where your child or children are attending.
So let's talk about funding real quick. So I think for the most part, there's three core funding sources. So you're going to have federal, state, and local.
That's correct.
I don't know which one is giving more money than the other. So if the conversion to a charter school is effective, does 100% of that normal funding, I think it's like a little over $12,000 per student,
somewhere right around in there,
does it go directly to the school or part of it? Well, how does that go?
With this type of charter, a Type 3 charter, is what we're applying for, which is a school board authorized charter school. So within that realm, you're going to contract with the school district. I think it's like 2% of the total funding for administrative fees.
Right.
So you would take that out of there. We foresee, our projected total funding for Neville at this time, based on the size of Neville, I think right now we're 1,040, 1,050 students. Based on that, somewhere in the $13.8, $13.9 million range, what should be coming to Neville. So 2% of that, and that's after we paid the 2% to the Monroe City schools for
the shared
administrative.
Service.
Yeah, that's right, the administrative fee.
Is that how it's run now, or
No.
supposed to be run now? How much? So let's just say, let's just pull some numbers out of the air. The numbers that I have here that I pulled before we got here was through last year. It was $12,800 per student, with a little over 2,000 going back to, is that 2% going back to administration. So you'd be a little over
2% of 12 would be, that's about 240 a student. Right?
Okay. Well, now they're kicking back. A little over a lot more than that to the school system. So how much of that money do you think is being spent at the school now?
Well, based on the figures that I got through my FOIA requests through the Monroe City schools, the amount of monies in the last year was a little bit less than the prior 2 years. I got the last 3 years that was spent and coded to Neville High School was right in the realm of around $9 million to $9.3 million for the total cost. And it's a pretty big gap. We've taken that figure into our budget. We kind of conservatively added or really liberally added about $1 million to the top of it, and had an operating expense projection of say 10,300,000, right around there. So that still leaves about 3.5. Maybe if that was given for things that the school board might have been doing themselves and not coding to Neville, that was just primarily housed at the school board. And based on that, even if adding $1 million for those services, and we know what we can get those types of services for that we didn't see as being expensed through Neville, and it still leaves about $3 million right around there. I mean, and some change. The difference between maybe what's not going to the students at
So we're
at
talking
Neville High School.
almost a third.
Well, yeah.
Almost a third.
Mm-hmm.
So let's set that money aside for just a minute, because
Yeah.
I know that in a lot of cases money make things happen. We have to
Yeah.
have it. Setting the money aside, why do you feel like there's a need right now to go from what we already have to something different?
That's a good question, and I get that a lot. And what we're trying to expand the possibilities for every student that walks through the halls of Neville High School. Okay, Neville High School is a good school. They've got great teachers. All right, but the facts are, Neville lost 15 teachers last year, which is one of the highest, I guess, highest changes that have happened in the past few years.
Why did we lose them?
Well, there's a lot of different reasons. Coaching change there at the end. Some people just decided not to stop teaching. Okay, it seems that it's getting harder and harder to operate. I mean, teachers are there to do one thing: they're to teach and take care of the children that we put through.
They
there.
should be there to do one thing, and that's to teach. But we're finding that's not the case. Right?
It seems there's a lot of layers, of bureaucracy. You got a lot of extra administrators that have to find something to do. Maybe I don't know what the deal is. I'm not a teacher. I grew up. I'm the son of a teacher and a grandson of a former teacher and superintendent of schools here. So but anyway, as we get through this, you see there's a new professional development, or my brain's not working great today, but like a teacher assessment. Okay, so they're coming up with a new system through the state, and it's given a lot of people fits. And in a charter system, and a lot of it's built on helping to improve maybe underperforming schools.
Sure.
Well, that's not the case at Neville.
Right.
And that is a good kind of reference of saying, look, we've been doing some stuff right at Neville. Neville's been able to do its due diligence, retain teachers. We've got probably some of the longest tenured teachers in the Monroe City schools are still resigning at Neville. It's my 30-year reunion coming up, and there's two teachers that taught me that are still teaching, and they'd been there a long time before I did. But the point is to not teach maybe to the middle and try to improve everything. I mean, Neville's got a long history. My grandfather, Sidney A. Seegers, they just named this new multi-purpose building after him. And in his speech, and he's told me this for years, in the back 60s, 70s, even the 80s, the amount of people that National Merit Scholars, the band played at John F. Kennedy's inauguration. There's things that have happened over the past years that I'd like to see that type of growth, national recognition for one of the top high schools in the state. Right now, I think we're ranked like 47th in the state, and we were consistently a top 10 high school. Now, what that means is we've got to figure out a way to help every student that comes through there. All right. Obviously, there's a lot of top performing, high achieving students, but there's also a lot of underperforming students, and to provide methods to address both ends of that spectrum, all along the same lines of being able to provide special services for special needs children, any types of added autism therapy. There's things that we can do as a charter to kind of move and pivot to the needs of each class. Like our freshman classes this year is around 303, which is larger than we've had in a long, long time. Okay. But those needs can change. So you take that assessment, and we can pivot and provide programs and curriculums to be able to address those needs without having to be a box. We don't have to get in line with everything that every other school's doing within the district. It's like whatever's made, like a decision that's made somewhere that's needed somewhere, well, it might not be needed at Neville, and vice versa. The things that we can do at Neville might not be needed at the other two high schools.
Right.
But it seems that if we can't do them at all three, then it's not going to get done at all.
So you'll agree with me, one size fits all is not one size fits all. It's not right for everything.
That's correct.
So under the charter umbrella, you have more flexibility on the types of education that can be offered.
Yes.
But the stuff that
And
I've
that's
read
not to
online,
say, I just want to make sure, that's not to say we're going away from a strong STEM diet.
No. I completely
understand.
understand. But where I was going with this is that there's still checks and balances within the state that says that you still have to meet these
Guidelines.
These
That's correct.
guidelines that's out there. One of the complaints that I've saw recently against this is that there's no accountability, and that's far from the truth. There's a lot
of accountability.
A lot of accountability that goes into this. Another complaint that I had heard is that why don't you just try to fix what's already in place? Why don't you just change, create a PTA organization and fix what we already have? Don't try to start something new. What do you say to that?
Well, look, I get it. I mean, Neville's had a strong history of support throughout its almost 100-year history. I mean, but a PTA is great. Okay, high school right now is high schools in itself, especially a place like Neville. It should be run like a small junior college. Okay, I mean, there's so many moving parts, from athletics to all the extracurriculars, band, speech, choir, orchestra, all the other activities that are part of a high school like that, from all the different sports. Girls playing volleyball, basketball, football. I mean, it's a strong, storied history of extracurricular activities, and it's a lot of moving parts to dig through. But when it comes to organization, who's controlling, who's holding the purse strings, who's managing these things, there's so many layers of bureaucracy that's just been built up and built up and built up. And you've got a political arm in this as well, to where the school board itself is something that has a long since been maybe not a thorn in the side, but I mean, it's a lot of times you look at the school board and you're like, what actually are
What's the goal?
What's the goal of the school board other than let's grab some control of something and do anything? And it kind of turns away from the actual kids that are going to the school, or at least it takes the attention away from it. I truly believe that all the school board members, when they started this game, started in on this journey, it was about the kids, and I still think it is about the kids because it's. I know. I mean, you put yourself out there publicly on something like this, it can get a little tiresome, but
it's easy to get the blinders on. Also,
you can get caught up in it, and I believe that's happened over many occasions. And it's just something you're running elections because you're either trying to stay elected or that. And what I've told everybody from the get-go, because this isn't something that just was reactive. This is something that's been on the back burner for over 11, 12 years, and we've been trying to figure out, like, do we really want to do this? Do we want to go through this? My son's a junior at Neville right now. I mean, by the time everything kind of goes through, my kids are going to be gone,
right?
And it's going to be a long time. This isn't about for my children or anything else. It's for the children that walk through the halls of Neville.
Well, even bigger than that, it's about our community. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say that I've went through everything you guys have put together to say that I'm for it or I'm against it. That's not what my purpose today is. My purpose today is I want people to be well informed. The people where it's going to have an impact direct to their kids, number one, needs to be involved. But also community members that may not have kids go. This has a major impact on the livelihood of our community. If it tanks, it's going to have a bad impact. If it soars, it's going to have a fantastic impact. So
Yeah.
I think getting the community behind what you guys are doing is very important. Even though they may not have a direct say, I think that their voice does matter. So talk to us a little bit about the different levels and why you guys chose to go with the class 3 versus
Yeah,
something else.
Well, the type 3, there's 5 types, okay? Type 5 is a lot of people are familiar with post-Katrina, all the New Orleans schools. It was called a recovery charter. It's a recovery school district. That's what happens when either your school district's taken over by the state, DOE. If your school district gets taken over, what do they make? They make charter schools. But in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans was in disarray, so they formed a bunch of Type 5 charter schools, and they're all site-based. You're in the cars, Warren Easton's, those types of schools. Delhi Charter, okay? What is it? Darbone Woods around here, if you want to do that. Those are Type 1 charter schools, and those are within a school district, but it's a brand new school. It's just we're starting another school. We've determined a need. We want to do this. We get federal funding federal and state funding to start another school because this money follows a student. That's those types. Then there's Type 3s and Type 4s. A Type 4 is a district authorized charter with they can just wave a wand and no application, and you turn it into a charter school and start operating that way. Type 3 is what we're trying to do, is a conversion, and that's a conversion. Does 2 things. It converts Neville into a charter school, allows it to operate independently of, say, the school board. The school board does have oversight. The cash flow, the funding flows through the school board into the charter. It's supposed to be just like a pass-through. And then they would be an authorizer of a charter. And what that would do, there's a list, would be an amendment voted on by the school board when they would approve the charter that goes along with it, holding the charter to some standards. We got to maintain, minimum grade level and maintain our population base, as well as a few other little things. But that's what we'd be checked in on. And then that way, our school, the test scores from Neville would be included within the Monroe City Schools' total overall grade. Okay, the Type 2 is a BESI authorized charter. That means nothing goes through the school board or anything else. It goes straight to the school, and the grades would then no longer be included with the Monroe City Schools' total school, grade report.
Right.
So, and we're doing the Type 3 because I think Neville needs its own autonomy in the decisions that it makes, especially from the educational offerings it does and control over its own budget, and be able to shoot money to the band, and have the band know about it, or any orchestra or anything else. There's some things that you can't sell tickets for that need funding, that the funding's there, but where is it? A lot of people don't know about it. It's not that principals or anything don't know about it, but it's kind of like the steps you have to go through to even dig all this money up and find it can be cumbersome.
And it shouldn't have to be that hard, right?
That's right.
If you look at it from a business standpoint, if there's a need, we need to see how we can fill the need. Mm-hmm. If the need is true and great and it's justified at that point. Right. And I like the fact that, in which this is new information I'm learning, that the Monroe City School Board still has oversight.
Yes.
Not as much oversight, but they still have oversight. If something was going wrong with grades and test scores, a plug could be pulled at some point and say, hey, look, there's some accountability that has to happen here. Let's all sit down and talk about it.
And we're held by the same, we're graded the same way. It's BESI and the Department of Education is going to give us, we got to take leap tests. We're not, blowing up the system. We just have ways that we believe can enhance the offerings that are at Neville, and that would benefit the students at Neville, give different options. Because not everybody's a college bound
right. And we
track.
see that we see that right now in our workforce development, that
That's right.
Pushing everyone to college, we have proven is not the right path. That we have a lot of uneducated people in the workforce, and I don't mean that in a derogative way, is that we were not thinking about what true workforce really is. Not everybody needs a 4-year college degree.
Yeah.
Now, I do believe that everybody needs some continuing education
Yes.
after high school to be able to get a trade or whatever field they're in, get some additional training. But workforce development is here. It's true, and I think we're behind the 8 ball. We got a lot of great people that are in our community that's pushing us in the right direction. But it sounds to me like being able to have a charter school to where you guys can analyze each year where the need is. And we've got I know that at one point there was a welding program at Neville.
Still is.
So we know that we've got more kids coming in through this year that's going to have more interest in that. And we just don't have quite enough equipment to serve that. It gives you guys the flexibility to say, okay, we need to shift gears here a little bit.
And it opens the doors to private industry to support these types of programs. And that's what we feel. I mean, based on our conversations with everyone, a lot of people are, not say scared, but tentative to maybe jump in head first and do a economic development or a kind of a career development type of deal. I mean, we have partnerships. There's partnerships with ULM doing dual enrollment. There's partnerships with Delta Washita, the VOTEC. They allow people, but they have to. Oh, excuse me on that one. But they allow people to go to, but they had to go to the VOTEC. We'd like to bring the VOTEC to Neville, to where we can take those types. You can get your basic STEM courses that you're going to study for your LEAP test and all that stuff, but have those programs on site in a dual enrollment type of scenario.
Sure.
And then have it sponsored by local businesses, to where, I know like the good people at James Machine Works really help out the welding program there. And I mean, but that's good for them, because what do they do out there? They tanks and vessels, and what do they need to hire?
Yeah.
Welders.
That's correct.
And the same deal goes with whether it's electricians, whether it's HVAC, whatever it is. I mean, there's trades that can make people some money, and not just say, the construction type trades or plumbing or something like that.
You have the high tech industry coming in, learning how to code and being able to service equipment like that. And I can imagine the bureaucracy, if under the current situation that you have a company that wants to support, the hoops they have to jump through to be able to get a program up and running through the normal course of business. But with the charter, there's fewer people to have to go through. The yes can come a lot quicker. A lot quicker, and get put things in motion that can sometimes. You see this a lot when it comes to anything. Somebody has a good idea, it gains a little momentum. People get behind it, and then maybe they even try to implement it, or it takes 2 or 3 years, and then people forget about it, and then the person that brought it up in the first place has lost faith or lost hope, and it's like, man, it's not going to do it, and then it just never. And what happens is it just doesn't go. So you see this cycle go over and over again. Good thing is, I mean, a lot of things you can try things, and not everything's going to work. I mean, there's no perfect way to educate our youth at this way, but what we can do is make sure it's all about those kids. Shift the focus away from politics into and just focus on the kids, the teachers, the administrators at the school, to where with their vision and what our vision come together, and we can make good things happen. So we're trying to get back to community-based education.
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what you're hearing.
Community-based education. I don't know how we could go wrong with that. Let's talk about the process. Are we changing the who can go to the school, who can't go to school? Are we changing school zones?
No.
Are we giving priority to this faction versus this faction to be able to come in?
No. It's going to be a completely open, unless something happens at the school board level to where they come in and change the school zones at that level. We're not trying to change it. We want the same school zone that we've had.
Same people,
same
location,
same makeup. I mean, Neville, since the desegregation order back in the 1970s, Neville's been as diverse, really the most diverse populated school in the Monroe City school system.
And that actually surprised me. I was, they say perception equals reality
That's right.
sometimes. So in preparing for this, before we started recording, I was telling you that I was really kind of floored of the makeup of the racial makeup of the school.
That's right.
I was thinking one thing, and it's extremely diverse, more diverse than I thought it was.
Oh yeah, it definitely is, and that is one of the main things that we believe makes Neville a success. Is it proves that everybody can do things together, and
Right.
and it works. We want to we want to make sure that we can maintain that same type of, success with the same people. We're not trying to make Neville an all-white school or an all-black school or all anything school. We just want to keep Neville and keep pushing it towards the future. We want to prevent teachers from wanting to give up teaching, making them want to stay at Neville. We want to make Neville a safe place to keep your kids. I mean, they've got good people at Neville right now. I mean, great people. I mean, we lost a few of our special Neville legends over the past couple of years. Someone like Coach Roosevelt Rankins, who was at the school for over 50 years as a dean of students, but we replaced him with a gentleman named Chris Campbell, who went to Neville, understands it, and is trying to do the same thing the same ways, in many ways, in his own way, but like Coach Rankins did, which is, there's a lot of kids that come to Neville from a lot of different backgrounds, okay? How I grew up was different than how a lot of people grew up that came to Neville. And that's not saying anything. I'm the son of my mom, single mom with 3 boys that was a teacher, but at the same time, the perception of that. And there's things that we don't know about
Sure.
that go on in people's, you learn more and more every day. And but being able to deal with that and get to the bottom of maybe why a kid is acting the way he or she is, or what is the basis of that. Peeling back those layers to get to that kid. And I see these guys doing this every day. And sometimes, with anything in high school, sometimes a bad kid's a bad kid,
Sure.
and this kid makes a mistake or something like that. But it takes a while. There's not an immediacy to a lot of these things. I want to be able to keep people like Coach Campbell and a lot of these teachers and principals, the assistant principals, everybody in that place to keep Neville that as special of a place as it can,
Well,
and allow it to improve.
Let's talk about the educators that are currently there. What changes? What happens to them? What happens to their pay? What happens to their retirement, their years of service within the school system? How do they get affected?
Well, we participate. You can choose this as a charter, okay? And our charter chooses, you check the box to participate in the Teachers Retirement System of Louisiana, the TRSL. So really nothing. Your years of service, all that stuff stay the same. You're no longer an employee of Monroe City Schools, but you are an employee of we would be a nonprofit, but we're operating a Louisiana public school, so your retirement does not change. Your benefits, we have access to the state officer group benefits. Your benefits don't change. It's just like transferring, it's maybe like moving to another school.
What about when it comes down to teacher salary as they move forward? Right now under the state system, I don't think there's a lot of equity in it. I've come from a background, if the ones who are performing at the top should be rewarded for their performance. And I don't think the current public school system offers anything close to pay for performance.
Well,
what do you guys look at from that standpoint?
It's kind of weird. A teacher's pay right now is not going to change, okay? It's not going to get any lower. It's going to be at least what it used to be. What we've uncovered is that there's a lot of funds available to hopefully increase that. And the way I'd like to do that, and the way we plan on doing that, is to have some type of incentive structure for teachers, percentage of kids. And here's the thing, okay? I don't want to get it to where I want to see improvement, all right? It's not a baseline measurement, okay? I want to see taking somebody from here or from point A and trying to get them to point B and seeing improvement. That's it. But also I want teachers to be involved in the extracurricular activities as much as they want. I believe a football coach is going to gives a ton of extra time and effort, just like all the athletic coaches that they do. But a teacher that's running the Key Club or the student council or something
Right.
like that is putting in some extra time themselves and should be able to be rewarded
Right.
for that time, and like as a stipend, kind of like coaching stipends
Sure.
are right there. And trying to bring that in to where it would add that extra incentive to those teachers to be able to
Continue investing in the students.
That's correct. And anything we could do to help out with that, and there'd be funding there to do that. Now, identifying everything is
It would
what we're
take
in the
time.
That's correct. But
Sure.
but that's what we would like to do.
Another big complaint that we hear in our education system is that the administrators don't support the teachers in the classroom. The teachers feel like a lot of times they're walking on eggshells because they cannot take control of their classroom because they don't feel like they have the support of the administrators. How do you see that?
Well, that's a tricky one. Neville's got a great administration system. Coach McCarty has been there for a long time. He's entering in year 5 of being principal, but he's been at the school since 1995, I believe. Corey Hanks was there in the early 2000s. He's an associate principal, and I just now getting to know Miss Shirley Neal, who's a much-needed additional assistant principal up there. And the teachers at Neville feel that they're supported by the administration there.
That's great to hear.
But when you go up another level, that's kind of where it can get. There's so many administrators. You don't know. I mean, there's
Right.
a lot of extra work. It feels, and that comes down to the site administration at Neville, and then they have to then in turn implement it to the teachers at Neville. Well, doing the charter kind of takes that whole level away
Right.
to where we can get back to observing teachers and holding teachers accountable the way we've done it for years, is going in there, making sure you're teaching your stuff. The results are going to pay, or we're going to see the results. The results will take care of themselves.
I'm not going to ask for more generalities here because I don't want any of the teachers to feel like or administrators feel like they're entering into the political world. But what has been the response from local administration and teachers that you talk to about this charter?
Well, I think, especially at the administrative level, everybody's open to it. I mean, anything that's new, you want to open your eyes and try to learn as much as you can. I think that, because of the political implications that may or may not be there, that I don't feel should be there, because this is a pretty good common sense type view of the world, that you can't go out publicly in favor or whatever
Correct.
else, right? And that's not what I'm trying to do here. I think that the teachers all seem to have a vested interest in this as well, because when we're writing an application, we're talking to teachers that are there. I mean, we want to know how things are going. What would you like to see change? What has been some challenges that you have? And we do talk to teachers and allow them to have as much input as we need it, because that's why we're doing it. I mean, we're not trying to take this away from, and say, look, you have to do it my way. I mean, that's not the case. I want to put the school into the hands of its teachers and its administration on the ground at that school. That's my goal. And if there's anything, if they need us to step in as support roles to help make sure our funding is right, to help maintain budgets, to do all of that, that's what we're here to do. But you come to us with ideas, we're going to have open ears, we're going to listen to you, and we're going to see ways that we can do this, whether it's go out and look for more grants or types of funding resources, or if you've got an idea with a company that wants to partner with us or something like that, well, let's see if that's feasible. Does it make sense? I mean, is it affecting one kid, or can it affect 100 kids? These types of decisions are what we're going to have to make. The board of a charter school is a public board. We'll have meetings every month, and once the subject to open meeting law, people can come in and ask questions. We're going to have a parent, a parent member would be one of those as well. We also have a teacher member, somebody from the faculty that's on that board, and that we can work together to make the school better. That's what we're doing, and not hopefully not fight. Like, I mean, and
Sure.
it can happen anywhere. I'm not
But it
saying,
doesn't need to. You know,
No.
the teachers, I don't know any teacher that got into teaching for the money.
No.
It's that's a wrong career path if you're in it for the money. But there's a true passion to be able to help the kids, educate the kids, and see a community grow.
and it's still and true. And you say it's not for the money, but there's a lot of security, and I know that as the son of an educator, and I've seen what she's been able to do. She taught for 30 plus years, was in administration for a amount of time, but one of the last places where there is a true pension.
Yeah.
And I feel that these when you talk about things like that with these teachers, this is important to them, and it should be.
Sure.
You've given your life to this and given these many years, and you deserve that pension. And for us others to say that our group's trying to take that away,
Right.
when it's always, I mean, and always has been completely and totally false. There's no way on earth. My mom is still alive. She knows where I live, and if she said I was going to try to do that to teachers, she'd come and beat me. You know, she'd pull a switch off the front and come after me. And I mean that. And there's no point in that. But that is something that is a plus for being a teacher and putting in those years.
Right.
And we're not going to take that away from anybody, nor have we had any plans on that.
What have been some of the community-based questions that you're getting that people just kind of have the wrong idea, where you're having to kind of correct the record?
Well, I get at that we're trying to make it an all-white school, you know, that they're trying to adjust the demographics of that school, which is completely false. That we're going to charge tuition, which is false. It's a public school. It's free. Obviously, there's fees with a lot of sports, okay?
Sure.
But sport by sport. It's been there for years. It's not, nothing's changing. That we're going to take away retirement benefits, things like that for the teachers. All not true. Let's see, what's another one? We're going to start kicking kids out that are already there. Charter law states that the people if your school becomes a charter while you're at the charter school, you're guaranteed a spot in that charter school.
Yeah, so let's talk about that real quick, because I have saw a couple of people talk about there's problem kids at the school, and those kids are going to get kicked out and won't be able to go. Well, I mean, there's problem in any school.
Here's the thing, okay? Right now, the Monroe City Schools has an alternative center and everything else. All right, right now, it takes a lot to get kicked out of school. You got to do something pretty egregious to get there. At the end of the day, you're going to have chances. It's going to come down to this. Do you want to be there or do you not? And that's as simple as I can make it. I mean, we want you to want to be at school. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that you are going to get an experience at Neville High School that you need to get at Neville High School. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. But when it doesn't, what do you do now? You can go to alternative school, you get expelled, you get whatever. Same type of.
So nothing changes.
Not really, no. I mean, it's just maybe is more enforceable, I would say.
Okay.
Like you can. A lot of kids get kind of thrown back in, and they come to Neville. If they get out of one school, they'll end up at Neville. And what a lot of people, and Neville's a good school. Neville can take the hit of a lot of underperforming students or things of that nature because of the number of top performing students they have. So the averages out there. And we're not talking about 150 kids. I mean, we're really talking probably around about 20 or 25, maybe 30 in a school of 1,050.
Right.
Okay. So the ones that will not respect any type of authority, that won't listen to anybody.
They don't want to be there.
They don't want to be there. They don't want to be there. And I don't think that any school would appreciate trying to figure out a way to either reach those 30 kids and maybe turn the tides. But if not, sometimes you just got to school might not be the best place for you right now,
Right.
and allow that to happen.
What about those parents that have kids with special needs? Another thing that I'm hearing is that they won't be able to. Charter school just can't serve the students with special needs.
That's not true. I mean, a charter could, I guess, it could say that it doesn't have the space and or the facilities to accommodate a lot of kids with that. It's not the case at Neville. I mean, we accommodate kids with special needs already. We will continue that deal. We can actually. I'm looking for partnerships outside of the public sector to help with different types, autism therapies, maybe physical
100%.
therapy.
I was going to mention
stuff.
that. I did a podcast with a lady. I'm not going to call her name, put her on the spot here, but was not allowed to go into the public school system. I mean, they had where they worked with, kids that are on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And they were not allowed to go in the public school system for whatever reason. You just named the reason. And it was covered. The parents were covering the cost. It wouldn't have cost the school anything. Their liability insurance covered them and anything that would happen while they were inside the school. So I think in some cases a charter school could actually open the doors up for enhanced services
That's correct.
For the kids.
Yeah.
That's out there. And something else I'd like to just kind of say, I'm on a little soapbox on my with special needs. Our community got behind the ACE school in a way I've never really seen anybody education-wise get behind them. Yeah. And the ACE school would not be needed if public sector could have already taken care of that.
That's correct.
They would not be needed. Those two ladies that work tirelessly and the people around them in their team to push that through would much rather probably put their energy into other things if the community was already being served.
That's right.
Now, I know that may be an extreme case to look at, but that's what happens when community gets together and say, look, we've had enough. Our kids need better than what we're doing right now. So I'm pro what you guys are doing. I want to see you guys go to try to make our community as great as it possibly can. And I don't take that as a knock against Monroe City School Board because I don't know enough about them to speak on them. But the thing I would say is to these parents and to the school board, if you've got I'm sure you're not. I don't even know if your board members are getting paid for what they're doing, but
no, on a charter they are not. By law, you cannot.
But if they were, it would not come close to the amount of time you guys are willing to put in to see this thing be as successful as what you envision it being. And I just can't imagine where the school system wouldn't be willing to say, you know what, we're going to let this one come off our plate so that we can focus over here a little bit more on these. And these people over here are going to help us look even better because if they enhance test scores, it's just going to make us look a little bit better.
And that's kind of was my point to all of this. There are 10 out of the 19 schools in the Monroe City school system right now, and the 19th being Sherrouse, which is an alternative center, and I don't really count that one because that's, by definition, is probably not going to be your most successful academic school, and there's hardly ever any kids there. But say 10 out of 18 are either D or below in the Monroe City schools right now. And a lot of focus is that. And one of the arguments is that the funding that we would actually be realizing at Neville would take away from a lot of the things that we're trying to do. And I was like, look, it's been like this for years. It didn't just happen.
So it's not a money problem.
It's not a money problem. And I go to this because what happens when your school gets taken over? If the state takes it over, what do they make? They make it a charter school. Okay, they make it a community-based charter school. And it might be run by an outside company or something like this, but they get it back in line where it makes financial sense, where it's not doing money. I think at least all the high schools in town need to think about doing a charter thing because I think it'll enhance maybe some of the offerings that you can have and give everybody a choice. Okay, the elementary schools maybe should. I mean, I'm a community-based school. I mean, that's kind of what I'm pitching. This is changing the system of how we deliver education to the youth in our town and wherever else. And I'm a true believer that if you can get that community involvement, it's going to make your schools improve.
Now, I agree with that 100%. You know, I'm tired of seeing the reports come out about where Louisiana ranks, where Northeast Louisiana ranks. The more involvement that we can get a community, the more involvement we can get the parents involved into the school, the better chance for success our kids have. And there's some parents that we're just not going to be able to get involved. But if we have a strong community standing with them, let me tell you why I like the diversity that Neville has. And this is just, I have seen people firsthand that that don't have what this person has. But when you put those two people together, just through just natural living life of hanging around one another, both people kind of raise up a little bit higher.
That's correct.
Maybe we can't get all the parental involvement that we need, but maybe connecting more diverse people together within a community-based system, we can achieve more just by loving on our community, being involved in our community, giving the kids what the kids need, and stop us sitting up in our high places looking down and say, oh, I think they need this. Well, let's go ask them, what do you want?
Yeah.
You know, I was talking with one of the directors or one of the people with the West Monroe Chamber of Commerce. They're putting together or have put together a mentorship program. And in this mentorship program, they're going and asking these kids that apply, what do you want to do? They're putting people as early as in, you know, a freshman to job shadow other people just to get exposed, because today's kids, they don't really know what's out there. What do you want to be? I mean, I don't know, because they don't know what's out there. They don't know what the options are. And just exposing our kids to what the options could be, I think is a cool thing to have.
Well, it is. And you never know what you're going to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was 18 years old. Some people do. You know, some people say, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a lawyer or anything like that. I don't know if you grew up dreaming about being a realtor. You know, I definitely didn't think that I'd get into sales, which I've been in over, 30 years in some aspects. But, but allowing you to go through there and being able to prepare you for both sides of that. You want to go career side, you want to go college track side, but having both of those available to you and in an expanded manner. And I'm not talking about just the basic stuff to maintain the new grading system that we were going to have, but really, truly, I want you to be able to have something when you leave high school. That diploma should mean something, especially if you're like going to electrical or whatever. I mean, that welding deal. You should have a level of, of achievement or whatever that is. If it's like an apprenticeship or whatever else, I want to figure out ways to where we can springboard that to where you can get out of high school and go to work if that's what you want to do and start your career right there. I know plenty of successful people that didn't go to college. A lot of people that didn't go to college.
And I'll tell you that some of the
I'm not knocking the one. I think college is great,
but it's not for everybody.
But it's not for everybody. And I think we should be able to, when we talk about educating our children, we need to give them a full, decent picture of both sides of that correct. Coin.
And I don't think we should downplay either side of it. We need to let them choose. But I mean, some of the most wealthiest people that I know come from the trades and were able to build a business. And I'm sitting back thinking, wow, I wish I would have thought about that back in
like
the
I wish
day.
I'd have dropped out of high school at 16. No, that's not what we're saying. Yeah. But no, I mean, but that's the truth, okay? And I think the kids need that. The more exposure they can have to the different types of opportunities.
Right.
It's not as traditional as a lot of people think it is. And there's all these different programs, and you go through this. But I think to me, it's real life, maybe not really immersion, but it is like bring people in to partner with you and tell you what we do. I mean, it's career day is not really career day unless you can prove a point. So if you want to I'll tell the public all the time, put your money where your mouth is.
Right.
You know, you need more. If we have a shortage of HVAC technicians, or we need paramedics, or we need more medical surgical technicians, or whatever that is. You know, partnerships with St. Francis or
Sure.
whatever, or partnerships with the local unions, or partnerships with, people like graphics packaging or
That's
mid-south
where
extrusion,
community comes in to
and
play.
be like, hey, what do you need?
Right.
Where do you go? And then developing and being able to find a program to teach some process automation type of things, or what do you need? If you hired an 18-year-old right now, what do you need? Where's the shortage? And see if we can't do our job to help fill that shortage.
So with parents that have questions about this, or I would feel like most of the educators probably are more well versed on kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
But for the community and for the parents that want to have a say in this, where do they go get more information?
Well, you can go to we have a Facebook page. You can just search for the Neville Charter Association. We do have a website. I mean, it's just a base website, NevilleCharterAssociation.org, that has a lot of these frequently asked questions. I mean, it's pretty simple. There's not a ton of, you don't have to listen to or read 18 pages of
I went to the
stuff.
Facebook
And,
page.
I mean, it's a couple of pages.
Yeah.
It gives you the highlights.
It's laid out really well. I haven't been to the website, but the Facebook page where
Yeah.
you guys kind of lay out the whole entire program of what that's going to look like. It doesn't list out every single detail, but gives you enough information to feel more educated to be able to speak about it.
And contact me. I mean, that's my contact information is on the Facebook page. My cell phone number is there. You can call me. You can call me and yell at me if you want to, but most of the time I'm there to answer questions. I mean, and part of the deal, trying to get it to the parents to be involved on this, because it is your kids that are at these schools right now, and then but the community of the kids that are coming up into Neville. You know, this is something that affects them, and just want to assure them that the people that are behind this movement are dedicated to making Neville the best place it can possibly be.
Now, who are the people behind the movement?
Well, right now we kind of have a formation group. I mean, our quote-unquote board hasn't been finalized yet when it comes to the operating school board
Sure.
of the school.
But you have an initial group of people that's trying
Yeah.
to make the initial push
That's
to
right.
get to a point.
Yeah, there's myself, Robert Lane, Jason Ewing, a former school board member, Narissa Bryant, Dr. Brett Sanders. There's a dentist over here, Miss Susan Weaver at James Machine Works, been a longtime supporter of Neville High School. Most of us graduated from Neville. Some of them didn't, but that have kids that are either coming into or have gone to Neville, and sometimes both. Some have grandkids that are at Neville right now. And moving into the future, if we get an approved charter, we're going to go into the communities that serve Neville High School or that feel Neville High School, and make sure that each community is represented on that school board, to where we can address everything from both sides of the city. Neville takes kids from the north side and they take kids from the south side. I mean, it's no different. We want to make sure that the diversity within the school is represented on the board as well. But currently the board is those members that I told you, and it was people that were engaged enough and
Passionate to make it happen.
and ready to get things moving to help submit the application, because it takes money and time.
Sure.
And we've raised the funds and put in the time, and we're ready to submit the application at the end of October.
Okay, so I was going to ask, my next question is kind of where are you guys at in the process and what's next?
We're finalizing the application right now, putting everything. The state went and changed it on us at the end of August. It's been the same for 3 or 4 years, and they made a few tweaks. So we pivoted there. But we're finishing up the application now. We got to submit it, I believe, on October the 25th to the school board, and it's just an electronic submission. It's not like there's some, you bring it in, hey, we've got the application. It's just electronic submission. The school board would then send it to an independent evaluator of these types of things. and let them make their evaluations and then submit their report. School board has to answer to it by January the 17th of 2025. If they don't, then it automatically slides to Bessie for approval. So I'm expecting that the school board would probably have a decision on it 1st of January.
Okay.
And that would be, but I don't know that. It's up to them. Once it gets out of us, they can come back to us and say, hey, what about this? And ask questions, which I hope they do. But then they would have to approve that. And if they approve it, we just have to kind of defend it to Bessie and make sure everything checks off, and it becomes Neville High School stays Neville High School. It'll just be run by the Neville Charter Association.
What can parents in the community do right now if they want to get behind you guys and support this? Is there specific action you're asking people to take?
Well, if you're a parent, we'd love for a vote in favor. You can go to our website or our Facebook page, and there's a link there to where you can do electronically vote in favor. It's only really open to parents of current students at the school. And conversely, fundraising is a issue. Everybody's walking around needing fundraising, but I mean, it does cost money because we're not receiving any funding, nor did we ask to receive any funding. But to pay for, things like this take time.
Sure.
Accountants, attorneys, things of that. And if you feel that that you would like to support that, there's a way to do that. You can just contact me through our Facebook page or our website, and we'll fill you in on all that. But
do you feel like the school board will have some type of open discussion at a meeting for the community to be able to speak on it?
I would assume they would. It'd have to be on the agenda of the school board. I know that back in 2012, my father was actually on the board that was doing it back then, and there was some open meetings back then. So to kind of ask questions from the board, I'm here to answer them. Whatever we can do to answer everything honestly and in an open forum, I don't have a problem with it.
Based on the outlook and the research you guys have done, how do you feel Bessie, if approved by the local school board, how do you feel Bessie is going to?
I think Bessie will approve it.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have any hang-ups that Bessie would block this in any way. I think they would be really think it'd be kind of a lot of people around the state are focusing and to see how this goes. Neville being a successful school. Most of the time in a conversion, it's a school that needs help. And it's hard to say a school like Neville needs help, but Neville does need help, okay? It's taking that extra spring. I think Neville's hit its ceiling, and there's nowhere else for it to go, and that's where we're trying to take it, is that next step.
I know this is going to be oversimplifying thing, but the thing in my mind as we're going through this conversation, that good enough doesn't have to be good enough. And I feel like what you have described is Neville is kind of at that ceiling, or it's good enough. It's not a failing school.
That's right.
But if it can be great, why not? Let's shoot for that.
That's my opinion too. And some people out there, some people are scared of change.
Change is always tough for many
things like
people.
that. But we're not trying to take away anything from the school right there. We're trying to take it to the next level. And that doesn't mean that we're going to make it harder for your son or daughter or anything like
We're
that.
give them what they need to succeed.
That's it. We're trying to make it hopefully easier on them to succeed, okay? Not make it as tough and as segmented as it already is.
Well, Stewart, thanks for coming in and talking to us, giving us your time. I know it's valuable and you're probably being pulled different directions. Everybody wants to hear about this. If there's anything we can do to help support, get information out between now and the time that you submit the application, feel free to reach out to us.
Will do.
We're here to help. Anytime somebody in the community wants to invest the time, especially with their kids, to make it better for them, we'll get behind you 100%. So,
well, I appreciate you having me on.
Well, thank you for your time today, and best of luck to you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to watch or listen to this podcast. We really appreciate your involvement. Please leave us a comment, or even better yet, subscribe to this podcast and hit that notification bell so that you can be alerted for every new episode when it hits.